Welcome to The Girl Herd,
where we talk Texas football.
and a bunch of takes you probably already heard.
But not from us.
It's pod times, friends. It's Monday. Recording on a Monday. We are back. The Girl Herd. After eating some pig suey.
Some bacon.
Some bacon.
Bacon.
What is pig suey? That sounds super disgusting.
Isn't that what they say? Pig suey. I don't really know what it is. I don't think it's something you eat. I think it's just what they say.
Oh.
Well, I don't really know.
I know one of the highlights was the content that our spirit program put out on the horns down grading, which I mean, I don't think they heard our pod, but we've been grading them as well here. So I thought that was really cute to see, and it went over very well with the fan base.
Yes, I thought it was so funny. I'm like, one, we did that video of the guy with his horns down, and two, I feel like we talk about that constantly. I'm like, if you're gonna throw the horns down, please just do it right. Like, what I'm doing.
I love
which
that
is
all
so
of
funny.
our minds are on the same thing. Like we're all embracing it and like you want to put it down, let's talk about how you do it. No
Yes.
I love yous, no like sideways nonsense. And it's always funny when people come up to you and they're like this. They put them up and then all of a sudden they like turn them down. And you're just like, thank you. Thank you for living rent free. We love living rent free in your brain. Like, do the horns up for us.
I mean, not to get super deep, but I think it does go in line with our culture because we've discussed over the years, like the whole horns down thing, how we feel the SEC, and coming into the new conference, we knew they'd be all into it. But the fact that we're able to now like put out content to be like, we're about to grade your horns down, I think just shows how confident in like where we are as a program. And that makes me excited.
It definitely makes me excited too. But I know we talked about a little bit too. This is nothing to do with the game, but the kid who made the field goal on game day, how unreal it was. I feel like I love that little segment that they've been doing and how they keep upping the ante and donating so much money to like hurricane relief and all the things. But I also love that they picked that girl and she was like, I don't think I can do it. And the kid next to her was like, got it. And he drilled it.
I mean, right down, like, it was so good. He did so good.
So good. They're like, put him on your team. Somebody put him on her team.
But it was like I was waiting for him to be like shocked, but he wasn't. He was just like, I'm the man. Like I'm like, how much have you practiced this?
Well,
But,
that's what I was about to say. To me, watching the content, the entire lead up made me feel like it was set up that way because what's his name? The crazy guy on the desk was just like, you're only getting this one chance, like no second chances. And like the way he was setting it up, I was like, I feel like this guy, like in my head, I was like, he's about to make it. And I don't know why I got that feeling, but like, I don't know. I don't know if it was set up that way, but Michelle, if it was, that's why he was acting like that because he knew he was about to make it.
he was so confident. He's like, I played soccer my whole life. Like, no. And even Kurt, remember, he's like, I feel a little bit nervous about this. It's not like you're counting your steps back and doing the thing. You literally just walked back there. But also to be Kurt, I'm like, I don't want to be the one sitting there holding this ball with all these random people trying to kick a field goal. Like, you're going to kick my hand off. You're going to kick me in the face. Like, something is going to go wrong.
I thought of that as I watched him as well. Like, wow, but hey, like he obviously does it every time. So at least he knows his strength is. But soccer players are mainly the people that become kickers. So I don't know. I bet they have to try at some point. It's a little bit of a different ball, but
Digress. We digress. So, what do you guys think? What's your overall thoughts on offense, defense, how the game went?
What's your thoughts, Ange?
Um, to be honest, from the offensive side of the ball, I am glad we won, but I also some of the decisions I feel like that were made from Quinn's side of things is like our vet quarterback. We kind of discussed this too during the midst of it. I feel like there were a lot of deep balls that were missed that we would love to take back or love to see connect, especially going into postseason. There were we talked about what's his name, Juan Davis. Um, didn't know where he had came from, but he was open so many plays as like a tight end when everybody's watching Helm, right? Like if that's the case, like come on, like I would love for you guys to see and notice that. I know he got a pass completion later on in the game, but just would like to see a little bit more polished on the offensive side of the ball as we're getting so close into postseason play.
And we have 2 big games coming up. I mean, I think there's a lot of discussion around consistency. I mean, you could say that about the whole all football teams and SEC in general. But for us, I've noticed that we start off slow a lot of times on offense and then kind of get in, and then it just kind of you see the waves of it, and you just, yes, it's good, it's great. We want to be that much better. And I know Sark talked about it a lot as well. Like there's still so much football left, and they celebrate these wins, but it's not like, okay, we just won a Super Bowl. It's like, okay, we know what we're trying to get towards, and we want to get towards that. So I think, I like that they're a bit aware that there's so much football left and there's still some room to grow. And I know us as fans want to see that as well.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was online talking, and I've been doing a bit of thinking about it all, and I think I know where a lot of it comes from because someone tweeted over the weekend and they were like, I hope after we win the national championship that Quinn makes a compilation of everybody saying things about him. And I was like, yeah, because Worthy did that after we played Washington the first year in
Yeah.
2022 and we lost. And so he posted all that. And like the fancy boots lady was actually part of that too. Like she was called out on one of the things, which I say her because she also has a podcast and is one of the people who talks about our team and such. But I just don't get it. Like we mentioned this like 2 or 3 pods ago, and Angie, you mentioned the perfect word, vet. He's our vet quarterback. Like you should be firing on all cylinders. We should have an expectation of you, and that shouldn't be a problem. Like I don't know where it came from that we're not allowed to question this. Nobody's saying there's a QB controversy. No one's being extreme. We are simply holding this team to the expectation and the excitement that we have that we know we can go the distance. And so as we're watching it with these eyes and we're following this team this whole season, that's where it's coming from. Offense did not get a perfect grade. It's okay, breathe. We made it out with the win. We're happy with that. But if we criticize the game along the way, I don't think that should be a big deal. Defense wise, freaking loved it. Like I tweeted it during the game. The secondary is just so much fun to watch. Like Jade Barron truly, like, I think he willed himself to that win and was like, I am going to get the ball. I'm going to like help this team to victory, and number 1 in total defense still. So hopefully that's what carries us through. And it sounds like that's what it will be, which I'm all for it.
Unreal, right? Like I think that's what we said. His athletic ability is just unreal, and how he can read a play and an offense and just move to the ball and make plays is truly amazing. But also the amount of sacks that we got on Saturday coming from all fronts, and I'm just so here for it. Like you said, like I'm more excited, which I don't know is good or bad, but when the defense steps on the field, I'm like, oh, some things are about to shake down. They're about to like change the momentum of any game that we're in. And really they're the energy for our team, I feel like, right? If offense is not doing good, they're like, okay, we got you. Put the team on our back. We're about to do this. But like you said, Mish, we keep saying like we're waiting for that, like not a perfect game, but we're waiting to see the offense really click how we feel like they know that they can. And I'm like, how many weeks are we going to have to say this? Is it ever going to happen? Like, we do
Well,
have to,
I think we scored 50 points against Florida. So we
True,
have seen
true,
them
true,
do
true.
very well. We will give them credit where it's due. But again, I just laugh at some of their reactions because there was like an article somebody wrote and it was like, I feel like Texas fans walk away from the TV when the defense is out. And I was like, I don't know who
Oh,
that is, but like I'm pretty sure we don't do that. And I'm pretty sure we're just like discussing our feelings and we have excitement and we also expect a lot. Look, we made it to the Final Four last year, a game away from the Natty. So that is exactly where we want to find ourselves and hopefully take that next step this year. So yeah, expectations are very high.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's what I was just about to say. Like, it's just expectations, right? Like, it's not that we're not standing behind our team. It's not that we're not standing behind our QB. Like, it's, you know how good they can be. And so you want to see that. And I think there was so much out there. I mean, I went to a few things this weekend and was talking to people and sitting in front of the TV, and we were watching, of course, the Georgia game and like BYU, like everything that was going on. I mean, there were some great games on Saturday besides ours as well. And there was lots of conversations about our QB. And I mean, these are all guys that none of them are Texas fans, but they knew I was, and they wanted to talk about it. And there was conversations, and of course you hear everything like, when are y'all going to take Quinn out? Actually, I think you should keep Quinn. I think he's doing great. Look, he didn't turn over any balls. He's done well on road games as well. Like, it's so quick to like jump to all the things. And I was just like, and someone said, we've said this before. I mean, we've talked about the injury and how Sark kind of alluded to it. Like, someone was like, I think Quinn's probably not 100%. And, but like, it's his senior year and he's going to keep playing. And so, but I look, like, it's just because we're having conversations about it doesn't mean we don't stand behind our team, and doesn't mean that we it's just our expectations. It's nothing, it's high and we're ready. And we want to make sure that when we're put to a huge test, what ends up being that W.
Yeah, I agree. No flowers given for the road win. It's always something to cheer about and rave about, especially in the SEC, because like we say all the time, you never freaking know. And it was loud. It was loud in that stadium. It definitely was. And props to him. There were a lot of like third down conversions, us going for it on fourth and shorter yardage, which they kept converting. So all positive things. Let's just all of them like couple
And he
together,
and he converted when we needed him to. He converted, he was super
Yeah.
fired up, and we scored when we really needed to. That's what matters. I was actually talking to Frank about just like the feels of things, and these are things that we brought up on earlier pods too regarding Sark and his style. And I said, hey, like, just be honest with me, because like I'm feeling a type of way about it in terms of like Sark's relationship with Quinn, and I relate it to like a Saban, for example, and how he will get into a player. Like, he will get into you and he will pull the best out of you. And that's a coaching style that I came up with and I'm used to. Like, I can't ever really remember too many times where my coach was like, oh, you're doing amazing. It was always like, I'm gonna get on you. And that made me be like, oh, look, I'm about to show this person what I'm built and what I'm made of, right? And even in my professional life at work, I work in sales. So things are highly competitive and you're never good enough, and people will tell you that to your face, and then you will get pissed off and do something about it. I think I personally want to see more of that. So I asked Frank about it. He agreed that that is not Sark's style, just like I've observed it. And he said that it's about more PR because of NIL, and you can turn a player off and you have to manage the game in a different way, which is maybe why Saban stepped away. So I thought that was an interesting perspective on the matter.
I definitely think that is interesting, and it makes me think of Saban too, because I feel like he also was good about knowing who he could push and how to push them, which I'm wondering if some of that goes on behind the scenes, right? Like you said, for PR purposes. Like, is it going on in practice? Is it going on in meetings? Are there things that are discussed outside of where the cameras can see them, of like, he knows who he can push and give that tough love to, and who he not coddles, but like needs a little bit softer of approach to, and what players. And that is a very interesting perspective. Like, I do wonder if he is that way with everybody, or we just don't see pieces and parts of it.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, we're all along the same lines. Like, we've talked before in different pods, and even talking about high school coaching, like everything, it's different generations. And so I do think, I think about, Devin, what you said and how it was back when I was, growing up in sports and activities, and then today being in sales and all the things. And like, what drives me is very different than what drives like a coworker or someone that's just coming out of college or whatever. And so I definitely do think that's part of it. And there was lots on another coach, LSU coach, Brian Kelly, and like how he was getting on a player on the sidelines, and that clip went viral, and how he is and that sort of thing. And there were so many comments about it. And, I remember when we had a coach that went viral on a bus for getting on players, and, there's people have such different takes, and that all of that comes with like how receptive someone would be to that kind of reprimanding
I
or
think
like
it's
love.
wild. Like, I saw
Yeah.
the Brian Kelly thing maybe his exact words are a problem. The intensity, though, to me is not. And there was a high school coach, don't even know if we ever discussed this. There's a high school coach who had to step down from his job because a locker room chat went viral. And y'all, I was like, the ways in which my coach was quite literally a million times worse than this. And I feel like clipboards got broken on us all the time because they were flying around because she threw them because of how pissed off she was. But I was like, this is actually sad to me. I know that people respond to different things, but like we're talking about football here. We're talking about winning championships, and you're going to have to dig deep to do that. And it's not going to be about, oh, this is how I should be speaking to you, in my opinion.
Isn't it crazy how wild like social media and the access to like everybody having this device in their hand like can quickly change everything, right? When, like you said, when we were going through it, that was not the case. At no point in time would I have been trying to record a coach like talking to me or something like that. No way in hell, right? Like, because then I'm going to get it even more. Like, oh, you don't want to listen to me? You're too busy on what's happening on your phone, right? But this kids now, their world is just so different, so different. And I mean,
Yeah, cameras are everywhere. Like they are
mhm,
catching everything.
yeah,
I mean, we talked about last week a clip that went viral for the poor Georgia guy. Like, uh, you're always on camera. It's always going to be shown. So
yeah.
very interesting. But I mean, I am curious how this week will go. I know the talks are all about like, I mean, Kentucky's played up to their opponents, right? So they beat Ole Miss. Miss beat Georgia. They came very close to in the Georgia game. So what do y'all think about this
Yeah.
week coming up?
Early in the year, they were super on the map, right? Like for all the
Mhm.
reasons that you're mentioning. And it's like, oh, Kentucky and Vandy are not Kentucky and Vandy. So, I mean, we're playing at DKR. So I don't think it'll be too much of a problem. I think the guys will be ready, but we've said it every pod. Let's just say it again. 1-0 league. Let's take care of business. Super curious about little brother over there and that Auburn game. I honestly think, and I'll go on the record for this,
Yeah.
I think their game's going to be a little tougher, and it's away. So and it's at night. So we'll see. Those night games are always a little bit of a toss up for anybody. So it's going to be another really fun weekend of games.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it is going to kind of be similar to Vandy. Kentucky's going to come in wanting to prove a point, and wanting to be that upset, right? Like, can we be the ones to knock Texas down? Can we give them a second loss? So I think that we just have to come correct, right? We have to play them and approach them like we would anybody else that is ranked and more of an elite team, I guess, that from the ranking standpoint that you would say. But again, being in DKR, this is our last home game of the season, like regular season. So I think that they're going to come out and handle business.
I love that it's at home. I love that it's going to be senior night. I'm excited that this is our last regular season game and going into a big game for our last game of regular season.
Let's talk about this, about how everyone and their mom wants to talk about how easy Texas schedule is and this and that, and how I don't even remember what it was on. Maybe it was on it was something ESPN on Sunday recapping all of the college games. And they were talking about how Texas's ranking number doesn't really describe the full picture because we don't have these magnitude wins. And I'm like, when Devin, I'm going to use your term that you love to use, the mental gymnastics. Like, come on, people. When is the story going to die? And like following along with Kyle's tweets, I just die because he cracks me up and is just spot on. Like, the SEC, everyone has kind of lost to somebody, they've lost to the next person. So, what are you talking about now?
Yeah. I mean, we all know what this is about. This is about the setup. They have to set it up that way because if things go our way and we end at the top at the end of the season and take home a national championship, we know the rest of the SEC and whomever else who cares is going to try to asterisk. How do you even say that? Asterisk, whatever that
Little
word is.
sign.
A
Yeah.
star, a little star. They're going to put it by our championship, guys. That's what they're doing. That's what this is about. Like, I'm fully convinced. I don't care. We have one loss in the conference. We have one loss overall. Everybody else can cry about it. I'm actually more curious to see what y'all's thoughts are regarding Ole Miss because they should be pissed right now. They're ranked behind Georgia and they beat them.
I would be I would be highly upset. They got snubbed for
Well,
sure.
I mean, we could talk about the rankings in general. Like, if you guys want to come at ours, let's talk about a
Mhm.
lot of people on that list. Every time I look at it, I'm like, come back with that? Like, how did this? There was some guy did like a video that I saw him compile, and it's like the, coaches and AP ranking, like all the people in the committee going together, and they're like, who can we piss off this week? And how can we rank them? And it's hilarious because you're like, they asked Sark today, like how he feels about it, and all these people making all these comments, and he was like, I don't know, man. Like, again, want to know. And I love that because it's like, it doesn't really matter. But all these people that keep wanting to talk about our schedules and our rankings, I'm like, y'all really got some time here.
Something has
Also,
been
go care about somebody else.
Something has been haunting me regarding the season though. So I want to tell you
Haunting.
guys, yeah, haunting. Like it's been haunting me all weekend. And I was like, wait a minute, this is actually not good. So I'm
Oh
so
no.
curious to hear y'all's thoughts around it because it's looking like we take care of business. We'll be the number one seed in our conference and we will end up in Atlanta. Love that. First year SEC title game. That's what we want as UT. However, I started thinking about it all and I started thinking about the future landscape because already conversations are coming out about one, our conference and how they need to go back to divisions because everyone's mad about not playing whomever. Number two, the overall landscape, even outside of the conference, and how essentially they're going to make us mini NFL. Like there's going to be AFC, NFC, whatever the words are for college, and then there's going to be these divisions of 4-4-4, and then wild cards on top of your division, and you go to a playoff, right? So that's like the discussion that's been going on. However, we know we're the 12-team playoff for this year, but this is what I thought. Go to that game for SEC title and lose. You are in the worst possible scenario that there is because you just played an extra game and for no reason at all because now you don't get a bye. And so I just thought to myself, wow, like that's really cool to go to that game. And I know we've discussed like, oh, like, would we rather an easier path and not go to that game? And consensus was, no, we want to play for our SEC title. But thinking about all of those things, I'm curious y'all's thoughts because I was like, that's actually like not good.
I had this conversation on Saturday because I don't think it's fair. There was so much conversations about it in the last few weeks and how if I think it was specifically on LSU and where they were before. I mean, not after the last couple weekends, but they were a contender as well. And if they were to have made it to the SEC game, whether they won or lost, like the win was actually the big thing, and they would win it and then still be right out of the 12-team playoffs, which is like, that's crazy. Like if you go, I agree with you. Like Devin, you said it is what we discussed. Like you should have a bye. Like if
Yes,
you
but
go to the conference,
wait. The playoff is set up to put our title game winner in a top four, no matter what. By the way, so I want to make sure that that's clear for everybody. So if LSU would have gone to that game and won, they would be a top 1, 2, 3, 4 seed for the playoff.
Okay, that
So
was confusing.
I want to clarify that we have a spot. The Power Four does. We have a spot. The Big 12 has a spot. The ACC and the Big
And
10, they all have a spot no matter what. So you're probably thinking, Michelle, about like your overall ranking because like right now we're 3, but we're 2 on the college football playoff. That was probably what was confusing. My thoughts were not even about that. It was more so win or lose, Texas specifically would still go. But I'm saying it sucks from a
because
body
we have an extra game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you could
and
just
Michelle, to your point, the loser of that game could potentially not go in, right? And that sucks for them. But I think we win or lose, we're still in no matter what. It's just lose, and we are playing an extra game for no reason. And that's the thing that I was like, oh man.
it kind of makes me wonder what their strategy would be behind that, right? Because if win or lose, it really doesn't matter. Like, how important is that SEC title to Sark and the team versus the Natty and preserving and staying healthy and all of the things to get ready for playoffs, right? Like, what happens?
Well,
What happens?
that's a 1 game playoff. You are playing 1 game to get a bye, which is what you need to do to really increase your chances. We don't know what's going to happen. There's never been a 12-team playoff, But I could think, and you all will probably agree, those number 1, 2, 3, 4, those conference title winners are probably going to get into the game because they had less games to play.
Yeah. It's like, doesn't the NBA, like if you win out early, right, you get extra long break versus somebody who's going to 7 games.
Yeah, similar to that. Yeah, it's
You
similar.
know,
It's very similar. So I don't know. That was my scary thought, to play in that game and lose, then you really lose because you're playing
you
the
don't
most
get a break.
games.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
mean,
lot of freaking football.
yeah, we had conversations about it all because it's like if you make it and you're the top 2 teams in your conference, there's no reason you shouldn't go to the playoffs. But I'll have to go look back at that article because it was specifically if they won. But now I'm like rethinking about all of this. But anyways, yeah, like playing an extra game when it's already a long season. How bad do we want the SEC title and our first year in the SEC?
I mean, I think we want it even more just so we get a bye.
We want it regardless because we're going to
Yeah.
talk our talk, but I'm telling you, asterisk got the word right this time. They're going
Did
to
you look it up?
They are going to do that if we win the conference. They're going to say we played nobody. They're going to talk. And honestly, they're going to look like clowns because y'all are the ones saying y'all not SEC ready and there's no easy SEC game. So you can't change it now.
Even if they go back to splitting up the SEC, everybody anyways when you divide it like that. So like
Yeah, that's why they took it away to begin with, because it was still the same. It was still the same problem.
yeah.
I saw, and don't know the validity of this because it was a tweet, but apparently Texas was pushing for nine SEC games, meaning that would be one more game. So we would have one more opponent in the conference. And the conference meaning maybe the other teams didn't vote on that. I don't know. And the other rumor, again, all hearsay, is that we paid for our schedule.
I mean, we all know that's not true. Like, and
Right.
that's what's wild to me. And like that everyone keeps saying all these things and like, I mean, look at our schedule. Like, I mean, you can never predict how a team's gonna be. Like, it's not like we just paid and we were like, Florida's gonna stink this year, Arkansas is gonna stink this year. Like, come on.
People did say that. Like, there's some people who are on our side as well, and they were like, Texas scheduled Michigan. Meanwhile, all of you SEC schools scheduled FCS schools. So I don't know what to tell you. We can't control that.
Right? Like the team
Not.
that just came off of a natty.
Yeah. It's really wild. This is gonna be like completely off subject, but I realized we forgot to talk about the grass.
The grass. Oh,
The
at
grass.
Arkansas. Yeah, how long it is?
Y'all, why didn't y'all have landscaping the week of the game? What y'all trying to do to us?
That's raggedy, honestly. It looked really raggedy when they showed it.
And the fact that it was that big of a deal, like that they broadcasted about it and showed those like up close images of the grass and how long it is, I'm like, I'm gonna need for y'all to get it together.
I just loved like the online assessment. It was like, so Arkansas kept their grass long to slow Texas down. Dot dot dot. Doesn't that also like slow
Slow them down. That's what I was just about to say.
Again, Arkansas, you're just
I was like, don't.
feeding it.
I was like,
Like
don't
there was
mention it.
Yeah, there was like a play at one point and they were like, and you can't even, like, he's not even going as fast as he could go. And I was like, this sounds weird. It was an Arkansas player. I was like, why would you want that?
Oh, the strategery.
We also didn't talk about the fact that their offense is actually ranked higher than A&M's. So that was a very good offense. They are number 6 offense going into that game. And the way that our defense played against them, to me, I thought was one of the more impressive parts of the game. And it's like, okay, a nice little pre-test of what we need to get prepared for as we look ahead to that game on November 30th, because their offense is, I have to go look. I don't even think it's top 20. So
I think if we can get to the quarterback in the A&M game like we did against Arkansas, things are gonna get real spicy in College Station.
yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. Like, it needs to go how the Michigan game went, because it's going to be probably even louder than what the Big House was. And we
Oh,
know how intimidating that was. And we know and have spoken on how intimidating Kyle Field is. And so I think the defense needs early turnovers. The defense needs early 3 and outs. We need to shut down 12th man super fast. And then I think we'll be able to like get the offense going on our end and settle in. So that's what I
Right.
want.
I mean, you shared with us this week, like the mayhem of students that were already there to get their tickets and the process started today. It's unreal. Unreal. That 12th man is going to be on 1,000 for that game.
But I
Like, I
think
don't
that's
think,
like, we've also talked about how that'll fuel us. Like, it'll
yeah.
be so exciting. The guys are like, they tend to do well with that. And I think that's kind of like, I mean, our defense just turned on and was like, I'm shutting you guys down. Like, get quiet. And I love that they don't just like go for the tackle, they go for the ball. Like,
Mhm.
one player is tackling, another player is trying to figure out where that ball's gonna go. Like, I just love
It's also, yeah, it's so cool to watch them work as like a unit, like you're saying,
it.
right?
Yes,
Like, okay, I'm gonna do this because I know you're gonna have my back if it doesn't actually happen the way that it's supposed to happen, but we're like
100%.
all here to take care of things together.
So, question, is it the best defense we've ever had?
Hmm.
I
It's
mean,
up
in a
there.
while, at least.
Yeah. In a while. They are so impressive to me. I feel like just on all cylinders, the secondary, our corners are like our linebackers, you name it, like our defensive tackle, they are all on it. And I feel like they're just this one unit. They're also hyped for everybody, right? And it just, you can tell how much they vibe and they gel on the field.
Yeah, I asked my dad that question, so I wanted to know what y'all thought. And you can see the clear improvement from last year. I'd love to have AJ back to see what he thinks because I know it's a very personal question for him and his own unit, especially as we talk about the secondary. I personally want to say it's the best I've ever seen, and here's why. Michelle, you mentioned it. I mentioned it earlier in the week when we were texting. It just seems to be this difference of like not stopping people, but like getting the ball by any means necessary. I just don't think I've ever seen the level of game changing that they're doing that truly has saved us so many times and changed momentum and put us in position. So I mean, yeah, I'll go on the record again. I think it's the best I've ever seen. I love watching it and hope they can carry us through.
They're disrupting offenses.
Yeah, and you know what? One thing that I'll credit our offense with, we don't have a lot of drops. Like our players aren't really dropping too many passes. Our disruption, Angie, since you brought up that word, even when we are not necessarily right in our spot or right in the area, the receivers that we're going against are dropping the ball at such a high clip. And I think it's because it's this anticipation of, oh crap, like what's happening. And yeah, we're just being very disruptive and it's great. So
Did y'all hear that the Chiefs ran the play that Sark did? Yeah, like the
You
one
did it with Worthy?
uh-huh.
Nice.
So you love to see it. And I mean, of course, they asked Sark how he felt about it. He was like, look, I have stolen more of Andy's plays than he's stolen Sarkeesian's plays, but I don't know. Just love to see it that it's going around as well.
It's amazing. Devin, you should tweet Aaron and ask him
yeah,
from the girl herd. Yeah.
definitely so curious to hear his thoughts because we brought him up and Earl and all those guys. And my dad was just like, yeah, I don't know about this one being the greatest. He's like, a lot of those dudes went to the league, you know. It's like, yeah, but I think like the unit thing is something to be spoken for. Like they may not have as many first, second, third rounders, but it's the way they're playing together that's just so impressive to see.
And I think I want to, Aaron kind of alluded that on our pod, and I bet he would kind of agree with that part of like how they played together as a team, but it would be hard to say.
Well, one cool thing that he brought up is something that I think they're doing. It's like you could tell he wished he had some of them back. And he was talking about how he wasn't as aggressive enough and he knew he could jump more routes, but had just the tinge of fear. And like, I think that these guys don't have that. And I think whoever is talking to them, probably Blake. Blake was on that team, probably said, no, trust your instincts, go. Be interesting to pod with Blake too to get, his thoughts on his philosophy and how he's coaching these guys up. So
I agree. I would love to have Blake. Hey, Blake.
come on the pod.
Well, I think it's so interesting because people like I think about just to last year how they were talking about our coaching staff and specifically defense and wanting us to relook at it and look at them now, right? Like now they've gotten settled in with players and teams and been a consistent unit, and look where we're at. It's exciting. I love it for them and
Yeah.
for us to get to watch.
Yeah, I feel good about them because I think they're sick of losing to Washington 2 years in a row. Like I think it's a different level of locked in to really like we won't be playing Washington, thank goodness, but I think we're ready to prove a bit more and put ourselves back on a map and place where we haven't been in a bit. So I'm just fired up about next month. It's crazy going into next month. We don't know what will happen. Like, we don't even know anything about December 7th, about that first round or not. We don't know anything. So I'm just sitting here and waiting like the rest of us.
We're all
Nobody
learning
knows.
together.
Yes, nobody knows, but we're here for it.
Another 1-0, Kentucky.
Here we go.
Here we go.